A new week is here, battlers, so that means a fresh update, unique items, and possibly a different meta has come to backpack battles. We'll discuss everything in today's video. First things first, congratulations to all the Ranger mains out there. The developers have heard the complaints and decided to give you guys buffs on top of buffs. You are now reunited with a wooden sword at the start of your run. This will feel nice because it always felt like Rangers were a bit weaker than Reapers during the early rounds. So this change should help with that. And of course, we can't forget to mention that the bow and arrow received a slight rework to its item effect, where whenever a starred weapon hits, the bow and arrow will gain 1 plus damage, up to 7 altogether, making this a very needed buff after the nerfs it received in the previous patches. But we're not even close to being done yet. 2 new items have been added, as well as both being bows, which means that they are ranger specific. This is great too, because Reapers also had more recipes than Rangers. The first weapon we'll talk about is called Fortuna's Grace, which will take 2 cloves and a bow and arrow to make. Like most recipes, this new weapon will take on elements of both items used to make it. It will have similar stats to the bow and arrow, as well as grant you 2 luck at the start of a match. However, its item effect will reward those whose builds are geared towards luck and crit damage. If the starred weapon Fortuna's Grace is touching crits, then Fortuna will be able to attack twice rather than once. This weapon really complements and rewards those who play into the ranger's strengths of luck and crit damage. Before we talk about the second new item that can shape a different meta, let me know if you guys like this format of explaining updates versus my previous one in the comment section down below. With that out the way, let's dive into the Tusk Piercer. This ranged weapon will offer a chance for players to form a new meta with spikes in mind. To get it, you'll need 1 walrus tusk and 1 bow and arrow. Its damage, stamina cost, accuracy, and cooldown will be just like the bows. Plus, you'll be able to gain 1 spike buff at the start of the battle. If the star weapon that the Tusk Piercer is touching hits, then the next attack will deal 8 plus damage. Just keep in mind that you will use 1 spike buff in this process. Now, you might be asking me, what's so meta changing about that? Well, what comes into play are the changes to both the Thorn Whip and the Spike Shield. Spike Shields now keep everything that the Wooden Buckler had, and generates a spike whenever it blocks something. Thorn Whip no longer generates spikes at the start of the battle, but rather whenever it's able to connect and attack, so there's no cap to how many spikes buffs you can have. So in theory, the Thorn Whip and Pierced Tusk can be a dangerous combo. Keep in mind though that the accuracy of the Thorn Whip also diminished. Overall, I think these spike changes are great for the blind meta that we're in, because let's say that you miss your attack later in a battle. Your spikes will still deal damage when someone hits you. It won't be anything crazy, but at least it will give you a fighting chance, especially when item effects like the Thorn Piercer kicks in. I think it's a good step in trying to curb the blind meta and give players other options to play with when countering it. But if you still feel like the blind meta is too strong, then the devs gave you some other options to counter it, like the Book of Light, where it sees a decrease in its cooldown as well as its health potential. The blind chance that you get from shovels went down from 60% to 40% as well. Heroic potions no longer give regeneration too. All these changes seem to be an indirect nerf to the lightsaber, where players will now be gaining less blinds from different sources. Especially the heroic potion change, since lightsabers were able to convert regeneration buffs into blinds. Another indirect nerf to blinds is the buff that Mana Thirst received. Its accuracy is now 200%, meaning that it will be very hard for you to miss with this thing. It might be one of the best weapons to make when dealing with blinds now. There's also been changes to the reroll system. The cost increase only happens after the 4th pull, and stays at 2 for the rest of the round, which I think this is a healthy update compared to the last reroll changes. This should be able to help the community find a healthy balance between skill expression when working with what you get, while at the same time not letting RNG dictate too much of your runs. But the devs are always listening, so feel free to join the official Discord and give your feedback if you really feel strongly about this change. The devs also wanted to show some love to armors, with corrupted crystals now giving 6 armor when placed on other shield-like items, as well as coal giving 4 when put on armor. Tim also saw some nerf changes, with its still chance decreasing, but its buff resistance increasing. the price dropped as well. Crossbase also saw a damage increase, as well as Poison Ivy now inflicting 7 poison when applying the damage resisting debuff. And the debuffs are now permanent, compared to how it used to work. There's been new hotkey options added, as well as you having the option to remap them to your pleasure, which is a quality of life feature that I know a lot of people have been asking for. So enjoy. And just to remind you guys, let me know if you guys prefer this type of format versus my previous one. I can't wait to mess around with these changes and try to form my own spike meta. But till next time, y'all stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.